No holding back. See ya.
First up, the visual design. Just look at how stunning this is. See, that's one of the best things about the end of a console generation. Developers have a good grasp on the PS4 at this point, and they can optimize graphics with their coding wizardry. So you end up getting games that look really, really good. One thing you'll notice is how detailed the main cast looks. Cloud, Tifa, Barrett, and the rest of the gang have never looked better. Imagine if Advent Children the movie was playable. That's what we have here. The game almost brags about how good it knows the characters look, with close-ups being a huge part of cutscenes. The lighting and texture quality of the weapons, armor, and clothing are prime examples of the love that Square Enix put into the game. For example, Cloud's turtleneck bodysuit soldier armor has cardigan sweater-like strands to the fabric, topped with armor on his left shoulder that's clearly seen days in battle, with dents and dings all over it, as well as his 3 signature worn nuts and bolts attached to it. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Each character's weapon will display whichever materia you currently have equipped. I thought that was a great touch. Whenever you change your weapon, it actually shows up in game. I want more developers to do that. I feel like Square Enix is one of the few developers that make it a point to do that. It's not all puppy dogs and rainbows though. NPCs look above average at best, which is fine since the game does a good job of filling the streets up with citizens. So quantity over quality in this case, which I like because it makes Midgar feel alive with a real community behind it. You won't really see NPCs going about their day like you would in, let's say, a GTA. Most citizens just stand there talking a few lines of dialogue amongst themselves.
Don't give up! No. I'm scared of the doggy.
It'd be great if they asked us again.
You'll see NPCs drinking at bars, eating at restaurants, buying things at the market, and even singing at karaoke.
Okay, coming right up. I'm just pretty good, you know. You got this!
Environments, though, look just as good as the main character models, with a few bad textures here and there. There's a few bugs regarding texture pop-in, but the slums are filled with debris and makeshift homes that bring to life the poverty-stricken Midgar really well. You'll notice something new to look at every turn, and you'll just sit there and you'll admire it. Or at least I did. And I think to myself, they didn't have to put that there. But look, they went through the work and they put it there. I appreciate that. Now, you won't only be exploring slums, however. Midgar's industrial sections that overlook the slums are filled with buildings, materials, elevators, and catwalks, and for some reason used tire piles. Seeing these areas fully fleshed out is a nice surprise for anyone who's played the original beginning bombing section. Outside environments during the day have a high contrast look to them. By that, I mean everything looks sun-beaten and slightly washed of any deep color, almost a tint of gray to everything. Nighttime sections are the exact opposite, with dark corners everywhere, but any lights or color that do show up nice and vivid. It's nice seeing that kind of beauty in Midgar. Square Enix and their use of the Unreal Engine makes for one of, if not the best looking game on console right now. I'll let you be the judge though.
Gotta be careful. No telling what's gonna collapse or when.
But how's the fighting? We all knew it was gonna look good, but we were all told combat wasn't gonna be turn-based like in the original. Instead, what we got was a hybrid of both action and turn-based combat. I'll personally miss the turn-based combat. I mean, if you follow my channel, and maybe you should, hit that subscribe button, you'll know that I'm really not a fan of action JRPGs, with the exception of a few. But I welcome the change for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I totally see how changing it over to action-style combat fits the game's blockbuster movie swag. Enemy encounters occur seamlessly during exploration. Gone are the days of loading into battle. Cloud and company take on enemies with flash. They almost dance around the screen. Except for Barrett, he kind of lumbers around, barely even able to perform an acceptable somersault. Poor guy. But he's a distance fighter with his gun, so that's okay. So during fights, you perform a couple of basic moves like sword swinging, shooting, or punching, depending on your character. You could switch between any character at any time during battle. Any non-player controlled characters will attack enemies on their own, but don't expect them to go above and beyond and carry the fight. But anyway, with those basic attacks, you build up your ATB meters. A full segment of an ATB meter allows you to select from abilities, spells, or items. This is where turn-based comes into play. The battle will, rather impressively, come to a pause while in the battle menus. I like that with whatever move you do choose to go with, you can either watch it play out or take the more productive route and immediately switch off to another character and continue the fight with them. Nothing's worse than wasting a full ATB bar in big fights because you wanted to watch Tifa's Star Shower ability play out, even though it's one of my most favorite abilities in the game. She's just so badass, I love her. In addition to the obvious HP bar, enemies have a stagger meter. This is going to be your main focus during fights. When the bar fills, the enemy is staggered and basically becomes immobile, allowing you to go on an all-out assault on them. They take more damage when staggered, so this is why I think you should focus on staggering. But it's not required. Enemies still go down with regular attacks, it just takes longer. Enemies have different weaknesses, which is going to be up to the player to assess with the Assess ability. Assess provides detailed info on enemy behavior and weaknesses. I kept an Assess materia equipped during my entire playthrough. Equipping materia is similar to how it worked in the original game. Materia are concentrated mako that allow the user to perform special abilities. Materia is equipped through slots in the weapons and the armor. For example, an equipped healing materia will provide that character with Cure, then Cura once you level it up, and then Regen and Curaga following after that. You can also link materia to weapons like fire and ice into Cloud's sword attacks. I had a friend of mine tell me he linked up healing into his equipment, and I didn't even think about something like that. That's the cool part about the materia. You make little combinations that are very custom. If you want a healer and 2 DPS characters, that's completely up to you. Or you can go with all balanced characters who can heal and attack. Again, up to you. Leveling up earns you SP points, which can be spent acquiring stat boosts and materia slots for each weapon. Equipping different armor also provides stat boosts, buffs, and weapon slots as well, but you can't level those up. Last but not least, accessories provide stat boosts and buffs. Nothing else. Combat, in regards to how the player moves around in the open space, becomes rhythmic and showboaty once you master it. There's tons of special effects happening on screen during combat. The PS4 handles switching, spells, dodging, music, and even summons with no signs of poor performance. Although the fan on my PS4 was absolutely screaming most of the time. I do have to take that thing apart one of these days and give it a good cleaning. I think that'll help. So this and other little nuances to combat will ensure that you never get bored of the fighting in Final Fantasy Remake. If you're watching this, you probably played the demo. You start exactly where the demo started, on your way to blow up a Mako reactor with Team Avalanche. Also, admit it, you were calling it Mako this entire time. It's not until now, 2020, you started calling it Mako. Don't worry, I'm guilty too. Moving on. I'm not gonna spoil major characters, and I'll only go over the first few missions in the story. Avalanche despises the company Shinra for sucking the world dry of Mako, aka the lifeblood of the planet. To get back at Shinra, who owns and uses Mako reactors to provide energy to Midgar, Avalanche, with the help of Cloud, who's only in it for the money, successfully blow up the first reactor. Cloud, who by the way used to work for Shinra's Soldier Division, heads back to Avalanche's base 7th Heaven, a bar in Sector 7 of Midgar, to collect payment. But first he meets Aerith, a flower saleswoman. After this, Cloud reunites with his old friend Tifa the Great, who is also a member of Avalanche. Tifa, the angel, pays Cloud a portion of what they owe him for his work and takes him to an apartment C so graciously has set up for him. All the while, Cloud keeps having these visions of an old acquaintance. You get to break loose here and you get to explore Sector 7, visiting shops and doing favors for the locals. Back at 7th Heaven, you overhear plans to blow up another reactor. Sadly, Cloud's left out. Jesse, who is extremely sexually aggressive with Cloud, meets up with Cloud to request his help on a side mission. Side mission now complete, Cloud packs it in for the night. Precious Tifa awaits Cloud and personally escorts him back to 7th Heaven like the saint that she is. Before heading inside, they see 7th Heaven is attacked by whispers. They fend off the attack thanks to Tifa's immense skills, but Jessie is injured. Boom, Cloud takes her place in the mission. During the mission to blow up Reactor 2, we learn that evil Shinra is going to frame the Avalanche crew and drop an entire plate on Sector 7 and blame the whole thing on Avalanche publicly. Does Shinra drop the plate? Does Avalanche put a stop to Shinra's evil plans? This is a remake after all. Don't be sure about anything. That's about 10 hours into the game. There's tons more Avalanche goes through in the remake. An entire playthrough took me about 60 hours. Yes, the developers stretched the entire original Midgar section into one full game here. I didn't mind this. There's only about 2 points in the game that I felt that the padding was obvious. Then again, I didn't really take a break during my playthrough. I think that if you take your time and approach the game normally, those padded sections won't stick out so much. And by padded sections, I mean sections in the game where you think you accomplished something, but they sweep the rug from under you and tell you that the princess is in another castle type of moment. All in all, the story is done really, really well. There's always a new exciting thing that happens to make the game feel like a thrill ride. It really did feel like a blockbuster movie in 2020. I'm impressed, guys.
Guess it's a little late to grow a conscience.
Guys, the music. The music is like water in a desert for your ears. From what I can tell, every song from the original has been redone by an orchestra. With extra flair, whenever you go into an encounter, the music gets extra peppy, as if to tell you, hey guys, things are about to get serious. Here's a little bit of motivation for you. The music isn't just your basic 1-minute loops either. There's a new original track for every set piece, no matter how small it is. I couldn't find a new area that used the same musical theme twice, other than battle themes, which there's several of those as well.
Oh yeah, another one in the bag.
Man, other than a few texture issues and a couple padded out sections, I really can't find anything to complain about here. I don't know what more we could have asked from Square Enix. I did hear a few people complain that the sections are too linear, but I don't think they are. You make lefts and rights, you go back and divert from your main objective, you go up, you go down, you can get lost and there's tons of exploring to do. It's not just one straight path to your next objective like Final Fantasy XIII. Midgar in the original PS1 version was linear anyway. After Midgar is when the game opens up. I can't wait to see what Square Enix has in store. They set out to do something worth remaking. The game has quality fan service written all over it. While playing, I completely understood why we waited so long. Square Enix, I thank you on behalf of everyone who enjoyed the trip back into Midgar. It was worth the wait. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my look at Final Fantasy VII, the remake. It looks like I'll be doing a lot more reviews on JRPGs because now I'm in this mood to just keep playing some JRPGs. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure to do so you can stay tuned to all my upcoming reviews. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for returning and supporting the channel. See you on the next one, guys.